You're in the Stampede, West Virginia Metro News' only show dedicated exclusively to the Thundering Herd. Here's your host, Dave Wilson.
Have you missed me? It's been a couple of weeks. I've been busy, but that's no excuse. Back on the Stampede this week, and what a couple of days it has been. Conference USA again being picked apart as the conference reshuffling continues. It all starts. Maryland leaves the ACC for the Big Ten. Rutgers leaves the Big East. It's going to move on to a bigger and better thing. So the Big East is going, well, we're about ready to fall apart. We need to find some more schools. So the Big East goes into Conference USA again, takes Tulane in what was a shock and surprise to many, and East Carolina will join as a football member going to the Southern Conference in the rest of its sports. So that left open 2 slots in Conference USA. Conference USA didn't wait around and probably already had this plan in place in the event that more teams left. The conference went out, got Middle Tennessee State and Florida Atlantic to join the conference. There's still rumors out there that New Mexico State and Western Kentucky would be the next 2 teams to join if more leave or if Conference USA decides to go to 16 teams. Joining me now on the Stampede to talk about all this craziness that's been going on is Doug Smock, the Marshall beat reporter for the Charleston Gazette. And Doug, it's been a couple of crazy days with Conference USA, all the teams coming and going. What are your thoughts on the new look Conference USA?
Well, it's kind of painful to see East Carolina go. First off, that's one of my favorite schools in the league. It was not painful to see Tulane go at all. But Middle Tennessee was a pretty good addition, I think. I've actually been down there. Nice football program, very good on the basketball scene recently. Just beat Marshall in the NIT. Western Kentucky, I'm very excited about. If indeed they come in, they very good basketball heritage, a big thing, and I think the league needs to get better in basketball. And Florida Atlantic is it's another good Florida stop, and it probably means a trip to South Florida every year for the Herd, and that's big. And it keeps their rivalry with FIU alive, and that's a pretty heated little rivalry if you're not familiar with it.
Doug Smock with the Charleston Gazette joining us here on the Stampede this week. Doug, of course, conference realignment is football-driven, but you mentioned basketball and Conference USA needing to make itself a nationally prominent in basketball. Is that what the conference really needs?
Well, you lose Memphis, and that's a big thing. You need to try to get this league to a consistent 2-bid league, and I think they can do that with UAB, with Marshall. Southern Miss has been strong in recent years, and that's where Western Kentucky would really come in and help you out. You look up and down about 22, 23 NCAA bids in their history, and quite a few deep NIT runs. And I think that would still be big from a revenue standpoint and a prestige standpoint.
Wrote earlier this week on WVMetroNews.com that this new look Conference USA is a chance for Marshall football to become nationally prominent again. The league will be looking for a team to put out there, to be a BCS buster, if you will. Do you believe this is a chance for Marshall to once again elevate its game and become the flagship team of a conference that's really needing one?
You kind of hate to see Marshall back into that role, but, that's beyond Marshall's control. And really, when you look at it, they're not that far away from success, and they weren't that far this year. Just a little better defense, and they're talking 7-5. They're talking potentially 8-4 at the end of the regular season, and you'd have to be happy with that. It's kind of been a little agonizing over the last few years, but Marshall picks up a win or two, things look a whole lot brighter.
Yeah, Doug, you go back and you could look at a handful of plays, even a handful of fourth down plays this season, and we could be talking about a 7 or 8 win year, and you and I would be getting the luggage together.
Oh, gracious. You talk a 4th and 10 at ECU. They get a stop. They get a stop there, and they take a couple knees and go to the bowl. I mean, it's just been that close, and the Tulsa game was close. The Ohio game was really agonizing. They should have tacked that one down. 2 late turnovers. That was really painful.
He's Doug Smock, Marshall beat reporter for the Charleston Gazette. And Doug, on social media and even with a few people that I've talked with this week, fans have been lamenting a little bit that Marshall has been left out of the conference realignment and nobody's come calling Mike Hamrick. Is Conference USA a bad spot to be in right now?
Well, you kind of wonder if they couldn't have made their position a little better over the past 5-7 years under Mark Snyder, the football coach, and Bob Markham, the athletic director. But and you can assign your blame there. That'd be appropriate. But boy, it's this time around they're really a passenger in this thing. They were not a driver. Back in 2003 when things shook out, they had a little more cachet to get into Conference USA, which they did. And really, you think of it, Louisiana Tech's coming into the league. Marshall probably got Louisiana Tech's spot in Conference USA then.
Doug, right now, would you rather be in Conference USA 2.0, otherwise known as the Big East, or be in the current version of Conference USA?
The Big East is Conference USA, my friends. And I tell you what, there's two things that can happen in the Big East. One is that San Diego State or Boise State or maybe even Houston take their ball and leave, go back to where they came from. And the other thing is, do the basketball schools, the Georgetowns of the world, say, let's get out of here. And if you plot it down, you can take the basketball schools from there and the Xaviers of the world, and you can make a pretty good league, and you kind of wonder why they haven't done that already.
He's Doug Smock. Read him every day in the Charleston Gazette. Doug, thanks for joining us on the Stampede today.
Well, thanks, man.
So here it is, Marshall in Conference USA, what's left of it, what it's going to look like now. It's not going to get calls from the SEC, the ACC, any of the big conferences. We know that. The Big East comes calling. I don't think Mike Hamrick would be interested in that move, although never say never in conference realignment. Marshall has a shot here to put itself back in some sort of national prominence with football, with basketball, both programs right on that verge. And with a new look Conference USA, it's no better time than the present to kind of begin rekindling that tradition that so many fans got used to earlier this season. That'll do it for this week. I said earlier this season. Earlier this decade would be more accurate. That'll do it for this week's show. Coming up next week on the Stampede, it is Capital Classic Week. It's usually the first week in January. Second week in January is when it's been usually, somewhere in there. But it's the first week of December this year. We'll get you ready for the Thundering Herd and the Mountaineers down at the Charleston Civic Center. For my producer, Tyler Mertens, my guest, Doug Smock, I'm Dave Wilson. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Follow me on Twitter, DWilson, or WVMetro _D Wilson. Email me anytime, dwilson@wvradio.com. Thanks for watching.